What kind of a world do we want to live in? This podcast opens the difficult and uncomfortable conversations about crime, addiction, poverty, and more. If we want a healthier community, these messy conversations need to happen. This is Dangerous Ideas for Social Change. Happy to be with you again today. This is Kent from Dangerous Ideas for Social Change, and where we're having conversations, critical conversations really, and we're going to be doing a series right now on the recent release of the documentary Absent. And so I am very happy to be sitting here with, I think, longtime friend. I was trying to think, how long have I known you for?
A long time.
A long time. Let's just say a long time. That's Florence Sanderson. She's an elder. She's an emotional support worker for families who have experienced tragedy, murdered members, and so that's a very, very big role. I'd be curious, Florence, tell us what that entails.
Well, it started with my little friend. I was 12 years old, and this little girl used to come on the bus, and I'd keep my eye on her. And then when I moved away, I'd ask, "Oh, how's Georgia, and how's Kent, and how is she? And did you know she's missing?" And really?
Oh, man.
And so I just felt a damper and thinking what happened to her. So I prayed a lot that she would be found, hoping she's alive, but she ended up, her body parts were found. But for me, it was closure, that my prayer was answered, but still in a sad way.
Yeah.
And when I went to a murdered gathering for women, murdered missing women were there. The family of murdered missing. And when I spoke about my little friend, this two ladies said, "Oh, you mean this lady?" And I said, "Yes." And because of their sister was found, she was murdered. The killer, his home was investigated, and that's where they found my friend's remains, in his home. So, and then I began to feel I should be part of this, because it really, I always find myself empathetic and very strong in my emotions about helping people, to help them to overcome. And that's the goal that I see that they need, is to get to that healing place, to find themselves. And what concerns me too is the generational impact of this, and I see it around me.
So I'm curious, for somebody to walk into that space, that's a hard space to sit in. What is it about your own story? How do you think you got to be the kind of person with compassion for that situation?
Well, when I was a child, I was sexually abused by a neighbor, and we have a photographic memory, and what he did to me, I had it in my mind, in my spirit, and I tried my best to always be the fun child in enjoying my life, but in the back of my mind, it was there. So when I got older, I married a residential school survivor, and he was not a very nice person. He was hiding it when I met him, but later on it came out. And it began to manifest in abuse, physical abuse, and emotional abuse, and tearing down my dreams. I wanted to get into a good job, but he said no. And and I wanted to make him happy, so I didn't argue about it. So after 12 years of marriage, I left, me and my daughter. And so I made up my mind, how can I give back after I got trained to be a counselor? I went to get my grade 12. I went to Bible school for 5 years where I learned my level 1 counseling. And I began to accept who I am. Also, it boils down to your identity in other places. Sometimes it's your background, like being a divorced woman. But I began to notice there was a problem with others with accepting other races. And then there's that problem with it's a man's world and stuff like that. And I used to think, where do I fit in? And I began to say, I don't want nobody's permission to be who I am, what I can do. But I found myself always doing that. That's where it comes to that part about the absent students. I was also bullied in school, and I would encourage my grandchildren, if anybody bullies you, you tell Granny. And my daughter was bullied in school, and I put a stop to it. But she didn't tell me right away. I used to find her apprehensive about going to school, and she finally told me after that girl hurt her physically. And I took matters into my own hands, because I told that girl, you laid your hand on my daughter, then you'll have to deal with me. And what makes me sad is the abuser grew up and she lost a daughter to suicide. And I used to think, was she mean to her daughter too? Like questions like that. So I would be a very concerned person. Like one day I did run into her, and she wanted to talk. And when we finished talking, I hugged her. So we came back together in that way. And so I'm very concerned about absent students. And if
I was going to mention, we touched on this. First of all, I should say, Florence has got a special kind of, you have a special kind of way about you. Wednesday was our documentary launch, and in the morning you called me out of the blue to let me know you were praying for me, and I assumed you knew about the documentary, and in fact you didn't. And so it was just something moved in your heart to say today's the day, and boy did we need your prayers that day. That was a very hard day. It was like 5 months of work, and then I was nervous about the day, and to have you call meant a lot to me, and to know that somebody that walks so close to God was in my corner. I really appreciated that. And so we had an opportunity. You came out to Absent. You saw it. I touched on something that's always sort of moved me, is the Tina Fontaine inquiry after her death. And the one thing that was said there is that we lost Tina first at school, and so when you're telling the story of young women who were wrongfully taken and victimized and God forbid sometimes die, and just so I'm curious what your thoughts are about all that.
When I meet children in my community here in the North End, I see things because I'm a grandmother, I'm a mother, and I worked with children for 52 years. Uh, and I would notice things, and let's say the mother was too busy to bathe her children, and she'll say, give them a bath. Of course, being young, I'll just whip them up and clean them up.
In no time.
And yeah, and so she would say, can you cook for them? You know, my mom taught me to cook. I was actually 8 years old when I made bannock, and I'm 66. I learned to cook at a young age too. So I was like a little mom, and when I saw the kids, sometimes the mom would sleep late and the kids would miss school.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, just stay home today. And another scenario is sometimes the children wouldn't have clean clothes. And, you know, we live in a rich country. We shouldn't have to beg. You know, I need laundry money. I need food. And plus, too, the other part that is concerning is the danger out there with people that are lurking around.
I wonder about that, even when I sometimes think about kids walking to school. Is that kind of what you're feeling?
Yes,
or
yes.
Can you say more? Like, what are some of the things that kids are worried about on something as simple as a walk to school in the morning?
Yes, sometimes it could be a stranger lurking around and maybe driving by slow, because a predator will prey on the weak.
Mm-hmm.
And when they see no adult protective person, that's when they make a plan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like I had to put my dream away to be a cop. I wanted to be a cop. You know, I don't put up with nonsense.
You would have been a good cop.
My you know, my dad told me, he said, my girl, somebody will hurt you. And I said, as if. They'd be sorry.
Let him try.
So I get emotional when I talk about my dad because he was very protective. But my dad used to say, when you go to school, you know, be good students, work hard. But I don't know how come I didn't tell my dad that a girl was bullying me at school. I think it's because maybe he thought I could take care of myself or don't get in trouble. Like, there's things that stop children from talking. And
how,
that's
how
where
did
we
that
need...
affect you? Like, knowing that bully was there, how did that affect you, Florence?
I didn't want to go to school. Yeah. And in the reserve, there's nowhere to go and play hooky. Not unless you like the forest.
So people would kind of just notice that you weren't in school? Did anybody reach out, or at some point did you tell your dad?
No, I'm coming to the place where I took it into my own hands.
Mm-hmm.
One day I said, that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it started to... I was very athletic, and I don't want to brag, solid muscle.
Go ahead and brag.
And we had a tournament, and she said, I'm not going to go if Florence goes. And then I was like, because I discovered something about myself. I want to be liked. If you don't like me, what did I do to you? What can I do to make you like me? You know?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be liked.
Yeah.
And so the bully preyed on a hidden thing in my life. It's called rejection. Because I grew up with that too, where my aunties like to play favorites and stuff like that. And so there's many reasons why a child goes into their shell. It has to take a person that's very intuitive and able to talk to children to bring them out. And and also be a support to the family. And so I've done that here and there, but I'm looking at the north end here. You know, there's other people that will rise up, hopefully, in their communities. What I heard on the documentary, and I see the workers are weary. I was concerned about that.
You had that insight. I talked to my staff about it when we talked after the documentary, that point that you made when you looked at the audience and what you saw. If you could just share that with us.
Mm-hmm. I was sitting in the middle, and I said to Jenny, let's move to the front, and that way I could hear better. So I was sitting there, and I looked back, and I could see worn out, weary people. And this problem that we have, it's, even though there's one speaker there, his granddaughter was on the panel. I could see from where I was sitting, I don't have good eyesight, but I could feel that weariness on him too.
I just want to explain to our audience. So that was a room full of educators, trustees, concerned citizens, families, and when you said that, it really struck a chord for me, because I thought, okay, if everybody is weary, I wondered about whether, educators have a sense of almost shame about what has happened. We know that we're not in a good place with this. And I wondered if that weariness was tied to, I don't know what to do about this problem, or if it's tied to a guilt about the fact that this is true. Do you have any thoughts on what the weariness was about? Because I agree with you.
The weariness is from lack of knowledge. They are educated, but about that part where that void is, that's where you pull in the First Nations people, like myself. You pull in people even younger than me, people that know how to encourage people. I used to know Sheena used to work here, and
Sheena
I was
Gerard,
happy.
yeah.
I was happy to see her here, because you do need First Nations on your staff. And
so Sarah Traver is Indigenous, and it's good that she's leading, and we just see the value of it.
And also like even another community might have a different way of, the fillers, the void that needs to be filled in their community, because I know there's different communities in Winnipeg. Maybe their own, need to step in there and fill that void. So I saw that, and I'm saying, I will step in, but don't be tardy about, making me work. What do I need to do? People I find, they try and fix it themselves, and then they get weary to the bone, and then they have depression. Depression comes from that, and because worry causes deep sadness, and then you're putting that on your staff, on your coworkers, on your students, and then the other weariness is from the home. The home has to be taken care of and nurtured. Like I said about the clothes, might be dirty while they're not in school, maybe not enough food, because you need food to be strong in your mind, for your mind to operate. And sometimes you need to remind children to drink water. I have to tell my grandson, and my great-grandson, see this cup? Drink it in 15 minutes. Not much. It's not like a barrel. And I tell them, you need your water. So then another hour or so again.
Yeah.
Because, like I see this too too much.
Our phones,
The phone.
phones constantly in our hands. Yeah. I keep going back to the weariness insight that you had. And I was talking with my team about it yesterday. And I wonder if below the weariness is also a sense of grief and sadness, actually. And I know at the end of the documentary, I was sort of saying, let's just stop for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you hear these stories of kids that have kind of been lost and forgotten. You hear Leland on the panel talking about how sad he felt about his siblings, just completely lost. That there's this political kind of battle that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes that can seem like the battle. That's the loudest thing, right? It's the stuff that's been in the media arguing about the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And then that sort of climbs up to the top, and we forget that below there, that weariness, there's it's important to just stop arguing and
Mm-hmm.
lament
Mm-hmm.
and admit that this is incredibly sad.
Mm-hmm.
That's for me what sometimes gets me.
Yes, yes, and I want to walk along with, like you have that vision. I could see that. Of course, we're going to have a battle. When we have a vision, we have battle right away.
That's a good point.
And if my dad was a preacher, he
Mm-hmm.
said, I'd be worried if I wasn't facing anything. I'm like, what? What kind of theology is that? And, my dad was a wise man. And like I said, if my dad was here, he would come and encourage you. Of course, in the end, he'll pray for you before he goes, It's always, for me, what I say is it's about prayer. And like we could look at others' opinions.
Mm-hmm.
But then I thought, when I was at the meeting, I'm not putting anybody down, but there was no prayer. I should have volunteered. Can I open in prayer?
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, we may listen to all these things. How can we do this? But what does he think? God, how do we solve this problem with the youth? I know we're talking about youth right now. The youth need us to walk with them, and I'm willing to walk with Leland and
Avery. Yeah.
To do maybe twice a month, check up on them. And the other thing I put is our vision. It is going to be good. Our vision is going to have a good ending. Our vision, because it says where there is no vision, the people perish. And our vision is to help our youth and to get them on that right track. And I don't want that sadness to overwhelm Leland, because he could be at work, at school, and that sadness, it saps your energy. It has no mercy, and you could get headaches, and maybe he's not eating properly because he's too sad. I don't feel like eating when I'm sad, but I know I have to. So nobody's there to remind him, or ask him, Leland, do you need anything?
I kind of heard that in Avery's story in the documentary as well, that when there's that sense of overwhelm, then to live is difficult, and to sleep is easier. And it's just that sense of feeling the burden of, Avery just captured it so clearly about knowing what she should do, knowing that she should be in school, but being overwhelmed by her personal story and the things in her life, and then being tired and just not being able to press forward. And
Mm-hmm.
and I like your idea of a vision, because we're when we see the number of kids that are missing out on their education, we can kind of hang around the negativity of that. But what would a vision look like in your mind if you had the chance to have a room full of young people who were not able to connect with school? I'm curious, what would you tell them?
Mm-hmm. I would say, I'm here to work with you. I want to work with you for 1 year, and because it takes a while to build a building. I want to work with you, and I want to know your dreams, your visions, your goals, what you want to be when you're finished school. And on another list, put down, what do you need? And nobody's going to look at your paper. I'm going to get you to write it down. Nobody will look at your paper, just me and your teacher and the principal. And we're going to work on those things.
Florence, I just want to jump in to say it's such an interesting insight, because I don't know where the saying comes from, but it's slow down and we'll get there sooner. And I think when I watch our staff work with kids who have been out of school 2, 3, 4 years sometimes, what you're describing is exactly what needs to happen. It's that, okay, what are your dreams? What are your gifts? What are your, what are the needs? Like the things that are in the way of you getting to the place you want to be. And I wish we had time for that, because I find that schools are like, get that kid in school. If he's not in school, he's out of our mind. But you're talking about a more patient approach.
This is called land-based knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to be in the bush. And if your students need a grandmother, it doesn't matter red, yellow, black, and white. If they need a grandmother, that's who I am. And I have 9 grandchildren, and one grandson is going into hockey. When he told me that he gave up going to school, I says, you know what? Of course, we had our talk. I can't say what I said.
Yeah, this show will be censored. We have to. You got pretty serious, I'll bet.
and so he says to me recently, he says, I'm back in school. And I said, whenever you need help, Kokum is here. And if anybody picks on you, you tell me. I'll bring my purse. and when I work with children too, I look at all of them. Like, she's picking on somebody, so I have to talk to her after. I'll talk to you after school. And just get to the problem of why what's wrong, and why this, why that, and we'll talk about the 7 teachings. Of course, being here as a Christian, I tell them about the fruit of the Spirit also, mm-hmm. which is similar to the 7.
It ties right in.
Yeah. And we were brought up that way, and we'll give them incentives, and I like giving gifts. Nobody can tell me you can't give anything. I'm like, don't tell me what to do.
Watch me.
And it's like they need love. And I was listening. I like listening to other counselors, how they talk about a matter.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the matters that I knew I had to study on was rejection. So this morning, I was listening to about rejection.
Mm-hmm.
And how do I talk to the youth? And and also too, I like to power build, like, and and um and they need, like that girl there, Avery.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wanted to hoot and holler when she was saying, and when Leland was speaking, and then I felt that heaviness. I could feel it. It was in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, you're not the winner here. We're going to deal with you. That weariness,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to deal with you. We're going to overcome.
Florence, I'm glad you have an honest but optimistic sort of angle on this. You've talked about bullying a number of times. You've referenced that, and it flagged for me. I was remembering some data that I saw in April of this year. The teachers union came out, and they reported a 332% increase in incidents of violence. They reported that 7 out of 10 EAs had experienced some kind of a negative violent experience, and they reported that 844 different incidents had been recorded in school records, and so I don't want to characterize that schools are, because I think teachers work really hard at making their classrooms safe, but there is still a problem, and how that must feel. If there's a child that's acting out and a teacher is having to step in and take some actions, and all the kids that see that happen, or if there is a case of, you've talked about bullying, that kind of thing, how do you see that ripples, or how does it affect the kids that aren't even maybe involved in it, that see it?
Yeah, it's a ripple effect, because it goes down the ladder. Bigger bullies, medium bullies, little bullies, then the victim. So we have to build up till we get to the bigger bullies to make them stop eventually. And like, when I took the matter into my own hands, the bully stopped. And I think I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we were, like I said, my family, we were very athletic, and because of this bully, she stifled my dreams, and I rejected my dream. I threw it out. So I don't want that to happen to this generation no more. And they will be the best. We're going to put this on the map again.
I have a theory, and it's never been tested, but when I think about my own kids, I can see that they're much better humans than I was. When I look at the younger generation, I see the gifts, and I see the compassion, and the hunger they have for belonging and community. I think we have an amazing group of young people, and I hear that optimism in you, that you see it as well. I'm curious. Okay, so on the topic of bullying, you got to a point where you kind of took control. And we don't need to get into the details of what all that entailed, because this is a PG show here. But it sounds like you kind of grew some confidence, and you talked earlier about identity. Was there something going on where you said, okay, I'm taking back my life? I'm just curious for our listeners. What happened? How did you get to that point?
Well, I forgot to mention that we grew up, like, there was food on the table, and Dad was a hardworking man, but not enough. Like, some of the girls had nice things, nice jackets, nice whatever, and it was like one of the comments on the bus was, some people are black and they're so poor, and proud, and yet they're proud, like in our language.
Mm-hmm.
And yet this is my own people, my own, and it was like, why, what's wrong with me? And I'd look in the mirror and think, okay, I guess I'm not what I'm supposed to be, which was a lie. And that I wrote some notes here, which I want to reflect on, because it will be about this. The opposite of rejection is acceptance. And once the young people are taught about accepting themselves, like I accepted myself, and I would think about, I'm not going to take this anymore. But sometimes the worry I have is for it to go to a bad decision
Mm-hmm.
on the part of the victim. And that's where we have to be very intuitive to help them, and that they don't need to take that, because it could turn into an ugly thing. And one thing too, I always observe people. Like sometimes one thing I don't like is favoritism. I don't like that. I never do that to my grandchildren, even though my granddaughter said that I didn't love her.
Oh.
And I said, what do you mean? And why I was stern with her was she was the most rebellious one.
That was love.
That
The
was
sternness
love.
was love.
Yeah. And she told her mom, Granny loves him more than me. And so I reminded her, this is what I did for you. And just like the prodigal, the father said, you could have asked me and I would have gave it to you. The oldest son was jealous of the younger son when he came home. And the father said, you could have just asked.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of my my knowledge is observing. So I know my granddaughter tried her best to do things. So one time I got a new phone and I gave her my old one. She was the first one that got a phone from me. And I tried to, give them tools for safety.
Mm-hmm.
You call me if you need me. And I've kept my phone number the same for many years. And that's one of the lessons too. What's my phone number?
You got to have it memorized.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
And so
it's like 911. You got to know that number. But also, my kookums, got to know the number. So
I pictured this already when I do meet to encourage youth. I would do it repetitive every morning. I am special. I am smart. I am beautiful. I am handsome. Men.
Sure.
And I'm the best student. And then if I'm allowed, I would even give them vitamins. I would buy them myself. I would, I wrote it down here. I had a teacher. I was just a little girl. My teacher brought vitamins. Miss Montgomery. I really, really liked my teacher. She was a little old lady. And she would give us milk and a vitamin. And so she would make us sit and wait, and then she'll say, okay, have your vitamin and your... And I thought, that's kindness. And yet it's like, when we talk about building together, That's one thing I do not want to hear is, where's the money going to come from? And I'd say, from you, from us, you know. Why
Some
does it
of the
always
things we do,
why does it always have to boil down to money?
yeah, some of the things we do are kind of free, like
And
love and
yes,
acceptance
yes,
and care.
yes. Garage sales.
Make it happen.
Make it happen,
Yeah.
you know. Like, let's say somebody gave me this lotion and there's 4 bottles in there for an incentive every month. The best student that month will get a bag, 1 female and 1 male. They'll get an incentive gift, and the other ones will get a little gift,
Yeah.
you know, so they won't be left out. Nobody will be left out, you know. Nobody will feel like, oh, I didn't measure up again. No, that has to stop. You know, when you have grandchildren, you begin to know you cannot play favorites.
Yeah, I think of the words of Mother Teresa. I'm going to get this wrong, but something to the effect of, we're not called to do great things. We're called to do small things with great love. And Florence, I like that you've brought to our listeners today kind of a picture, sort of maybe the seeds of a vision. Like, just you've helped us to kind of see that that young people are in desperate need of identity and belonging, someone who's kind and care. You've alluded so many times to the idea of nurture and just looking out for people in the small things. All of those are small things, but with great love, they can have a multiplying effect. And as was mentioned in the documentary as well, every child that succeeds has one teacher they remember. You remembered Miss Montgomery, and so I want to thank you for helping us to kind of pick up our eyes a little and look to what's possible. And we do need to sit in the lament, but we also need to say, okay, where to from here? So thank you so much, Florence, for giving us your wisdom, and I appreciate so much your words, and thank you so much for being on our Dangerous Ideas for Social Change.
Thanks for tuning in to Dangerous Ideas for Social Change.